Hey, welcome back. It's a Thirsty Thursday edition of Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco. We're at the Newsmax headquarters in Midtown Manhattan. Downtown, the Dow is killing it, up $1.20, raging along. We had a spirited debate there. We had it ended quick, but Rob Taub and Tom Basile, thank you both for joining us today. And Jason Johnson joins us now. He's a seasoned Republican strategist and newcomer to the show. This is your first Liquid Lunch, and thank you for joining us in studio. So you worked with Ted Cruz.
Yes, sir.
And you were a big part of the Cruz presidential campaign and stuff. And tonight's the big night. We have Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, and Bernie Sanders on the stage at the same time. What are your thoughts going into it? And we'll talk about some of our thoughts also.
I mean, I think tonight is the first real debate so far, right? I mean, you've got 10 people who are out. Now we have 10 people on a single stage. And I think the most important thing I'm watching for tonight, two things. Number one, this is a 3-hour debate. 3-hour debate. Can Joe Biden last, really, for 3 hours? Can he stand on that stage, be coherent, not make ridiculous gaffes? Number two, as he goes through that process, how much further to the left is he going to go? Because at the other end, you've got the people who are at 2% and less, the Beto O'Rourke's of the world, and they're desperate. They're desperate. So they're going to come at him with everything they've got and throw out everything crazy you can imagine. It'll be interesting to see how he responds to that.
I'm wondering if he can hold up. Forget about all the rest of the stuff. Can he stand for 3 hours? That's like my first question. Like physically, they're going to have him with the black Nikes like under the thing, like with the lifts in them for him. But can he remember what state he's going to be in tonight? These are like, the bar is set so low with Joe. Can anybody really? I think the reason he keeps leading is because he just seems like, oh, we know that's crazy Uncle Joe, and he's moderate. He's not all those crazies. But how long does that act last?
I tell you, he is the weakest front runner in a primary I think we've ever seen. I mean, most other front runners are well over 50% by this point in time. And look, it's so easy to beat up on the guy. He's always made gaffes. Go back to 1988. But there's something different here. I mean, if we're objective and we're sincere about it, the Joe Biden we're seeing in this campaign, he's not the same guy he was when he was in the White House. He really has lost a step. I mean, you have a bad, heavy travel schedule, you can forget what town you're in. Pretty dang hard to forget what state you're in, even a small one like that.
So, Jason, if you had to pick at this point, if there's going to be someone who's the nominee other than Joe Biden, who's that going to be?
I would have to go with Warren, right? And here's why I say that. Now, by the way, I still think Joe likely stumbles across the finish line, right? But Warren's running a great campaign. She's basically Bernie Sanders. She is a socialist, but she's smart about it. She knows better than to say it.
Yep.
She even claims she's a capitalist, which we know is not true. So she's making overtures, right, to the establishment wing of the Democratic Party. We've heard a lot. I'm sure you've heard it. She and her people have been meeting with them, basically trying to say, look, I get it. I'm not going to be too scary come November. And so if I had to pick, it would be her, because she also, just remember, she actually does represent the heartbeat of the party when it comes to policy positions.
It is interesting that even in the video Joe Biden's wife did, no one's saying really that they like Joe Biden and they're passionate about what he believes in. The only real case that people are making for Joe Biden is that he's the most electable. But now we've seen in both parties, whether it's people like Jeb Bush, John McCain, Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, that choosing a candidate based on electability, it rarely works. Sometimes the African American candidate with the funny name, or the billionaire real estate developer who's never held office, sometimes the guy that's not supposed to win ends up winning.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. I mean, you mentioned Jeb Bush. Remember, same argument was made about Marco Rubio, right? Here's a dynamic, charismatic, compassionate George W. Bush type conservative. We see where that got him. You're right. You dig down into the polling of Democrat primary voters and caucus goers in Iowa. The only thing that keeps Biden going is this perception and this belief that he's the strongest one to face Donald Trump. And importantly, that's based upon this perceived strength in the Rust Belt, right?
That's right.
And
Electability.
I would argue he has wiped most of that away as he's surged left, Green New Deal, Medicare for all of the rest. And last
Got
thing,
it.
he's in Houston tonight. How are you going to stand up and talk about the new Green Deal that'll put half of Houston out of business?
That's right. You're watching Liquid Lunch, where we bring you the guests who know where the rubber meets the road. Jason Johnson, part of the Ted Cruz campaign, giving us his insights on the Democratic debates tonight. Jay, I want to thank you for joining us today. Thank you for watching. Stay right there. We'll be back right after this.